Hey everybody, welcome to the Inimitable Podcast. I am your host, Jermaine Harrison. I am a licensed mental health counselor, mentor, visionary, transitional life coach, but more importantly, I am a neurospicy black sheep. Inimitable means something that is so unique it is impossible to duplicate. This pod is for the neurospicy who are building mental wealth without a blueprint. Every guest here, we're going to talk about some of those topics that other people don't want to talk about, but we're going to talk about it, whether it be about motherhood, Black men, whether it be about joining the force and being a mental health advocate. Either way, we're going to talk about it. So with that being said, thank you for coming. And if you're here, it's because God needed you here. I hope you enjoy this episode, and I will see you soon. Bye. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you guys for coming in. This is part one of something that I'm really excited to do. I was we're going to get something done for Black History Month. And I'm so glad to have these panelists with me. I know all of them personally. I'm good friends with all three of them. And then next week, you'll see another three that I'm very close with. But for today, I'm going to do some introductions, and then they can give you more in-depth things that they do, because each and every one of us are entrepreneurs. Each and every one of us have worked 9 to 5s or 7 to 5s, whatever it is. And then we're going to get on to the discussion and conversation. So first up, good friend. I've known him for about 5 years now. He is the only male on this, but then, he's great. And we have another one coming up next week. Daniel Cassamajor Senior, because Junior is doing great things, and Junior looks just like him, but with hair. Daniel is a realtor by day, and then by night he is a basketball coach, also a trainer for Champ Me Training. So Daniel, say hello to the folks, and anything I missed, feel free to fill them in.
Hello, everyone. Yes, no, you pretty much hit that on the head. When we met, I was once a general manager at a restaurant. Since then, life and God has taken me to, my calling, which is helping others. I always knew that I was good at helping people, just really didn't know how. In doing so, just got back into coaching basketball, doing what I love. And from there, coaching basketball, I saw a lot of opportunities to be able to train these young athletes. And, little things where I'm seeing in older athletes that they need better foundation, a better root. So I just started my own basketball training business, and I had the market for it based on the teams, all the teams that I was coaching. The kids gravitated towards me. And that made me even more confident in being able to do this. So I took that opportunity, ran with it, have made endless connections till this very day. I'm super proud of, how far I've come. Even as becoming a real estate agent as well, that was very challenging. Entrepreneurial overall is extremely challenging, but I'm here. I'm still breathing, right? And I you have to stay positive through it all. So that's really been the last couple of years for me, just trying to figure it out day by day.
Mm-hmm. And we appreciate you for doing that, because, like you said, we all can help in some form. I just think it literally takes God to show us what capacity that is in. Next up, she is near and dear to my heart so much. She has mentored me. She has prayed for me. She has guided me through this entrepreneurship process. I met Christina like eons ago, it feels like. And just watching her evolve to who she is, I'm just like, oh my God, that's so cool. I want to do that one day. She's a program manager. She is a visionary of Preach Girl, which you guys have seen me posting and sharing all the great things that she does. And she's an entrepreneur and a boss lady and amazing and a preaching machine, y'all. If y'all need to get a prayer through, y'all call her. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, Christina Raye.
Thank you so much, Jermaine. What can I say? What a buildup. I pray I can live up to it. But I just want to say, before I jump into the introduction, thank you. This is incredible, and I'm super proud. I've seen your growth. I've seen your passion. I've seen you overcome a lot of seemingly insurmountable challenges. And I've seen you stand in a place of uniqueness and identity that takes a lot of bravery and courage. And I just want to say thank you. And you're helping a lot of people, including me. So I love you and I appreciate you. I started my career in project management. I absolutely love it. I am now the senior vice president of a project management office for an investment firm based in Chicago. But I call myself a workpreneur. So I like to take, the 15, 20 years of corporate experience that I have, that God has blessed me with, and translate that into faith-based spaces. So I have, in the past, I've done some independent consulting with churches, organizations, helping them project manage their conferences, convocations, strategic planning, work with nonprofits. And God also gave me a vision to build communities. And so 7 years ago, we launched an organization called Preach Girl, which is now a national ministry. It's focused on women that are in business, women that are preachers, women that are not preachers, women that are entrepreneurs, really multi-hyphenate women that are centered around their faith in God and are looking for a sense of camaraderie and connection with like-minded women. And the latest venture is for Black women in executive leadership that we're actually launching next month for Women's History Month, is another community-based organization that is really designed to connect, cultivate, and celebrate Black women that are leaders in their respective spaces. Whether you're an aspiring leader or an emerging leader or an established leader, we want to celebrate you. So there's a kind of a common thread with me of translating vision to execution through community building. And I just feel incredibly blessed, similarly to what Daniel said about the doors that God has opened. And it's not easy, but we're still here to see another day. So thank you all. And I'm excited to be a part of tonight's conversation.
Yeah. As you can see, we're only 2 in, and these lovely individuals do amazing things. And of course, we love Jesus over here, so we're going to talk about them. Have to talk about them because we can't do this without them. Finally, another one near and dear to my heart, Tanya, I had the pleasure of meeting last year. And when I say instant connection, I say instant connection. She has done a lot of things. She is a researcher. She has helped me just understand what to look for grants and all the things. She is the owner and founder, visionary of Creative Hues. She is a mental health advocate, IT specialist by day, community involving everything. I don't even know what the words to use, but when I say this girl's in the community, she's in the community. And she's, running a group at one of my old jobs. So I'm excited for that teen parenting program. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, meet Tanya.
Hi, everybody. So my name is, as she so eloquently said, my name is Tanya Oliveira, and I am the founder of Creative Hues. And so my focus is to destigmatize mental health within our community through expressive outlets. So whether that's drawing, journaling, crafting, anything that you can think of that's a mindfulness activity, that's what I do within my workshops. And it's really to help individuals take their pain, turn it into power, and give it a new purpose. That's what I did with myself. I am not a survivor. I hate that word. I'm not a victim. Can't stand these two words. I don't know who made this narrative, but I don't think it was a woman. No offense, but I don't think it was a woman, because we do so much already that those two words can never define me as an individual. So I'm a conqueror of my freedom from domestic violence. And so with everything that I have gone through, I take my life experience and I have, taken my own pain and turned it into power. And now it is with a new purpose. And so that purpose is to just pay it forward and show other individuals that they don't have to, that was a moment. It doesn't matter what type of situation, what type of trauma, or what you've experienced in your life. You can always take those experiences and reshape them into something for a new purpose. And that's really a part of what life is all about, is learning from your experiences and then being the best version of yourself through them. So I try to help people to understand and see that by embracing their emotions in ways, especially within our community, that we don't actually take advantage of. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with everyone today, and just kind of take a deep dive into what we need as a community and how we can, help others in that way to think differently. So thank you for having me.
Of course. And I love what everyone was just sharing. And before we hopped onto the live, we were having like a little mini conversation, and it really just ties into everything that everyone was saying about like we are here in the community and we have the gifts, we have the talents. God has blessed us with amazing things on how to impact our communities, and we have to do it with excellence. And this year in 2025, I really felt like God was like, if you're going to do something, do it with excellence, right? And of course, us being melanated individuals and it being Black History Month, I said, let's talk about Black excellence, because I think sometimes we just throw words around and it's like, what does that even mean? Like, what does Black excellence mean? And one thing I'm learning about definitions of words is that they are way more subjective than objective. So in everyone's own, sphere of understanding and how they move, what does Black excellence mean to you guys? And, can you give an example of like how you embody Black excellence? So whoever wants to go first.
I'll share on this. This question really excited me because it lines up actually with a lot of conversations that I'm having in other spaces. And what I'm finding for me is Black excellence is an embrace of our full selves and authenticity. It is a legacy and it is an inheritance. I think that excellence is in our DNA. I think that it's scientific. I think it's biological. I think that it's spiritual, God-given. And I believe that we are a powerful people. Our culture is powerful. We are communal. We are familial. And I believe that everything that we put our mind to, because we're born from a place of resilience. I love, Tanya, what you said about being conquerors. I love that. So I'm going to have to quote you on that, please, because that is powerful language. I think that conquering is in our DNA. And so I think because we have come up, quote, on the rough side of the mountain in many regards, excellence is an inheritance. And it's a cognitive recognition of, because of who I am, I have a right to this inheritance, and I have a right to do things from a place that is excellent, from a place that demonstrates excellence, not just in the sense of being superior to others, really, right? But it is to say this is a self-imposed standard, right? It's not about being better than who's to the left or right of us. This is a self-imposed standard. There's an expectation, and we thrive in that. So that for me is what it means. And as far as how I embody that, I try to embody that by leveraging the doors that have been opened for me and holding them open for others. And again, holding myself to a certain standard, starting with respect and empathy for my fellow man and woman, right? And being a place that is safe for people to be their full selves. And I think that's one of the ways that I try to embody that, but that's what it means for me.
I love that. Let me just say, y'all, take some notes, because we have some intellectuals on here and we don't want to miss anything that was said, because I was like, wait, it's legacy, it's inheritance. And I was like, what else did she say? So take notes, because I'm going to rewatch this. But anyway, go ahead. Whoever wants to go next.
I just want to shed some light on what Tanya said earlier with the turning your pain into power and purpose. That was a bar, right? We have to write that one down. We have to note that one. I'm stealing that one, Tanya. That was amazing. I appreciate you for sharing those words, and you speak from a place of experience, right? And that's the beauty of it. When I think of Black excellence, honestly, it's every day in this world is Black excellence to me, quite honestly. I mean, just to give you a little bit more background, I was born in Brooklyn, but grew up in Everett and Medford, predominantly white areas. I went to St. Anthony's in Everett for, elementary school. The only Black kid in my class. There was probably like 5 Black kids in the whole school. This is back in the day when we still had nuns as teachers, right? Old school Haitian mom, broken English. It was difficult, right? But still overcoming that. Now, fast forward, here we go. I live in Brockton, but I work predominantly in white areas, right? So we're talking Hingham, Marshfield, Weymouth, right? All these towns where most of my clientele is from. But I still carry myself with a lot of confidence. You know, and I understand, you know, I can be the minority in a lot of situations. That's the story of my life, but I own that. And based off of who I am, I command a level of respect. And if I don't get that level of respect, then I just keep it moving. It doesn't need to be anything negative. It doesn't need to be, you know, the saying, real recognize real, right? So once you feel, right, once you feel that you're not getting that same energy from someone, black or white, whoever it is, you then remove yourself from that situation. And I feel like, especially being a black man in today's society, you know, depending on certain areas that you go in, you're already looked at a certain way, right? And as a father, a huge part of that is being able to teach my young ones to be aware of these things. Because, you know, fortunately for them right now, they're oblivious to all that, which is good in a sense. But at the same time, I want to make them aware because they will come across it at some point. Even though their skin color is much lighter than mine, at the end of the day, I think you'll still be categorized as, you know, a person of color. So when I think of Black excellence, again, you know, it's just every day waking up in this world as someone of color, trying to be your best self. And, you know, you have other people out there that, like you said, Christina, you know, this person woke up before 7 a.m. angry, right? They're sending out emails, negative tone, not excited. There's people every day that wake up that way, and they purposely want to poke the bear, right? And then they expect us to react a certain way. And when we react, it's like, well, you know, we knew they were going to react that way. We, you know, that's what they do. And it's like, well, hold on a second, right? You poke anybody like that, they're going to react, but they want to categorize us specifically. So we face these battles. We are great. Naturally, we are great individuals. We're great at so many different things. I mean, we can go on about the things we've invented, right? The medals that we won, the sports that we dominate in, the list goes on. However, you know, Black excellence is something that we do have to be very proud of, right? Because you think of how we always get the short end of the stick, right? Black History Month, shortest month in the calendar. You know, the list goes on, right? I could take this, I could spin this so many ways, but you know, how I embody that again is just by exuding confidence, you know, being proud of who I am, sticking to my roots no matter what, right? This is who I am. This is where I'm from. If you don't like that, fine, right? I'm gonna stick with the people that do. That's what's most important to me right now. So that's what Black excellence means to me when I think about it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And I'm so glad that each of these panels has a Black male on there, because, you know, I think the Black man has a lot to share, but often gets silenced. You know what I mean? I think between the Black man and the Black female, we are some of the most strongest individuals, but also we are attacked often and made unsafe often. Like, I'll never forget, I had a client, she has 3 sons, and something that she said at some point in her life was, I was scared because I didn't know if my sons were going to come home. And every day she had to be like, I don't know if they're going to come home. You know what I mean? So sometimes they think it's a benefit to be in like PWIs or predominantly white institutions or spaces. And it's like, sure, that's a different kind of safety, I'm sure. But at the same time, like Daniel was saying, it's like when you're one of the only like 5 brown faces, there's expectations, and then there's like stigmas you got to go up against. And, you know, he was an athlete, but I'm just like, what if he wasn't? What if Daniel just wanted to be a regular student? Would he be allowed to, because he's a Black man and he's tall? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that we are up against. So, you know, Daniel, we're going to talk more about what it means to be a Black man in America. And obviously, we're going to talk about what it means to be a Black female in America. But thank you for sharing. Tanya?
So that is, so one of I wrote everything down. I'm very organized in that way, even though I'm neurospicy. I like to write everything down. And so when I really sat and thought about this question, Black excellence to me is not just about our success, right? It's about our resilience. It's about our creativity. And in many ways, it's about our community and how we at any given time, we bring everyone together. And so it's about how we show up. even when everything is stacked up against us and we make our way when everybody tells us there is no way to make one. It is about how we are intentionally healing our next generation, because we are that generation where we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. I am that. And so when I think of my ancestors, because like you, Daniel, I am of Haitian descent. I think about how hard my ancestors had to fight to just be. That you're not going to take from me. I'm going to take what's mine. And so that's engraved in each one of us, even if we're from different parts of the continent. Different parts, even if we all landed in different parts, we all have that same underlying drive that's within our DNA. It's unmovable, it's unshakable. It can be wounded, but the light that's in us never dims out. It never dims out unless you let it. And so how I walk in that is by making sure that I'm breaking those. It's not just about breaking generational curses. It's about breaking every last curse that's there, every cycle, every single cycle that's there that is of dysfunction, to break all of them, to identify it, to see that it's there, and then say, no, I'm not going to do that. It's not just as simple as the little things that we think about, the bigger things, I should say. It's the littlest things that we don't really put into consideration. And so because I am in a predominantly white neighborhood, I let my daughters know now, my fifth grader, I let her know now, they don't care about how, like, anything. They see you, and then all they're seeing is another statistic of what you should be. And so you're going to show them exactly who you are. And so I make sure to implement that into them from infancy until about how beautiful they are, about how strong they are, about teaching them about different aspects of their culture and what is important and how the society is going to see them, because you are not you're not just a little brown girl, you're more than that. So I instill all of those things and try to make sure that they know how great that they are, that you're moving in greatness. You're not just an average. You are one of the descendants of creators. Everything, we've created everything, and without us, there is no stability in this world. So, and that's just the Black love that I have. So I'm rooting for everybody Black, though I do think about all people. I'm rooting for everybody Black. And so when I'm moving forward through the different aspects of my community outreach, I put that in the back of my mind and play chess as I'm on these boards, and make sure that, if I'm moving forward, I'm bringing somebody with me. Somebody's coming with me. I cannot just move forward by myself. I'm going to bring somebody that looks like me along with me, so that's another young person that sees me will say, I can do that too. I can do that too. Or let me go ask Tanya what she did to get to this and this and this. So Black excellence to me is about the resilience and the creativity that we all have, and making sure that that's at the forefront.
That was so good. Now, I'm not a history buff, but I do believe that Haiti was one of the first countries to gain independence. Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure. And we forget that. Like, it took us, I mean, when I say us, I mean America, 1776, right? But for us, it was hundreds of years later. And the fact that we're still having this conversation of, are we truly free? What does that mean? Because systemically, we're not as free as people think we are. So there's systems, there are people in power, and other things that really are trying to keep us down. But I love what Tanya was saying, is we're not just trying to break generational curses. We try to break all curses, because as a people, we carry trauma. As a people, we carry, and we're taught in schools that all we did is slavery, and and Martin Luther King did a thing, Malcolm X did a thing, W.E. Du Bois did a thing. And like Daniel was saying, we are inventors, we are creators. And we went down the list of how many things Black people created. And if we try to get rid of all of them, we wouldn't have necessities in life. You know what I mean? And so what Tanya was starting to say, which leads me to my next point, is that representation matters, right? We are all in different fields. But as we all said, we operate in Black spaces, but predominantly we are in these white spaces. And so we have two parents up here. You know, I'm a godmother. I know Christina's a godmother. And so like, what does representation look like in your industry? But just also like as a person, like why is representation so important in the works that we do as Black professionals?
I can go first. So representation is everything, period, right? If you walk into so I'll just use, for example, I'm a community engagement director for a nonprofit organization called Love Life Now. And so we help women and children, families vacating domestic violence. If you walked into a location and you're talking to someone, I'm talking to someone when I'm tabling and I look like them, they're going to approach me. But if you see a group of people that's standing on the other side that don't look like you, how do you even resonate with anything that I'm going to tell you? And so that's on that side. But then on the other side, when I'm thinking about how I'm on two different boards within the city that I live in, and it being predominantly white, and I'm probably the one of one on each board, that matters. It matters for someone who doesn't think that they can be a volunteer for the city. Like, oh, I can go into City Hall and I can be on a board for something that's going to be integrated and be a voice for the city, and my voice is actually heard. Oh, so this individual hears me. That is so important because it gives them the visibility. It gives us visibility that we need. It makes us feel seen and heard. And so if I'm standing there and you are, you're a migrant, Haitian migrant, and you're like, oh, or Hispanic or Asian or, Middle Eastern or anything that has color in you or that's of minority, period. You see somebody that looks like you, that you can actually identify with. That means everything, because then you feel safe. And it's all about making sure that you feel safe. And, being a Black woman, being a conqueror of my freedom, being a mental health coach, being an entrepreneur, they see the proof that they can do those things too. It creates space for them by making sure that their voices, their healing, and their stories are on the front line. And so I use my platform to uplift others, to collaborate with organizations that serve our community and advocate for mental health wellness in spaces that they're often overlooked.
Yeah, I love that.
I love everything that you said. And I would add that representation is resistance. We have been sort of indoctrinated, right, with the belief, the understanding. I mean, even within our own communities, when we talk about aspirations in years past and in generations past, you're not always met with, okay, you can do it, right? Sometimes you're met with, what? You sure? And it's not, and it goes back to what you said, Tanya, about safety. We have had to spend so many generations just trying to be safe that risk taking was out of the question, right? we're just trying to be safe. We're trying to survive. We're trying to navigate day to day, protect our families, right? Get home safely, get out of school, not be falsely accused of something, like because of the systemic racism and prejudices that we've historically been exposed to. So now that we're opening up and we're becoming more expanded, and it's one of those things for me that it really is a resistance. It is to say that for our young people, visualization is everything. All I needed to see was one. I just need to see one. Like, that was it. I didn't need to see a whole room full. I just needed to see one. And so when our young people can see one, then they can pursue with a greater sense of confidence, because you can't tell me that it's impossible. I believe that it is a blessing to be the first, but it would be a shame to be the last, right? So me showing up, and as many of us growing up in predominantly white spaces, being the only, or being one of a few, feeling like you're bearing the burden of representing your entire race and all of this. But I got to the point where I started to kind of wear that as a badge of honor. Yeah, I am happy to represent my people. I am happy to be a louder voice in the room. I am happy to show up because I don't have to disprove anything to you. I'm here to prove something to myself, right? To know that what God put down on the inside of me is not limited by how much melanin is in my body. If anything, it's an advantage. So for me, representation is resistance. And I encourage our people to amplify joy. Daniel, I love what you said. We were having that pre-talk about the email and people waking up, choosing violence and coming at you with microaggressions and approaching you in a way that they wouldn't approach someone else, right? And it's like there's this temptation to fight fire with fire, to match energy. And it's like sometimes it does get exhausting to have to be the bigger person, right? But I have been encouraging in different spaces that I'm in, when we talk about subjects like this, excuse me, there is an expectation of anger, right? Amplify joy. One of my friends said, joy is a choice. Elder Karana K in Dallas, Texas, she said, joy is a choice. Choose that joy and choose it in your representation. Continue to show up. They talked about you. There was a microaggression. You were left off of an email. You were left out of a meeting. You were presented disadvantages. Continue to show up. And the last thing I'll say around representation is when we do show up, and if we are a minority from a numbers perspective, we cannot receive limiting language. We have to be deaf to words like can't, won't, shouldn't. We have to use those as fuel to say, it's too late. You let me in the room. I'm here now, and I'm going to bring my authentic self. I'm going to laugh loudly. My hair might look different from day to day. I'm going to exude and amplify joy, because I know that who we are as a people is healing for so many. And to your point, Tanya, we bring people together. I believe that we're the glue in a lot of spaces. So I think that representation is not just for us. It's about us, but it's not just for us. We actually benefit everybody in the room when we show up.
So listen, y'all, these are preachers right here. And I'm just glad. And like Christina said, like we have to walk, once we're in the door, occupy that space. You absolutely walk in there and be 100% in that room. And I think even for me, like there were times where, you know, being the only brown face in the room and, you know, trying to be professional, and I would shrink self because I'm like, Lord, I don't sound like them. I don't look like them. Depending on the month, my hair might be 3 different colors. You know what I mean? And I would shrink self. And it's like, oh no, ma'am. If God put you in that room, you occupy that space, because clearly something in that room needs to hear your voice. Something in that room you can bring to the table. And I had to realize, regardless of how melanated, how tall I look, how colorful I am, I belong in that room. And sometimes, despite what was happening around me, I didn't feel like I belonged in that room until, again, I remembered God is very intentional. So if I'm in that room, there's a reason for it. And I would do myself and the people in that room a disservice if I don't show up 100% and occupy that space. So Thank you for sharing. Daniel?
Amazing insight from everybody. So many gems. I mean, we're heating up. It's 35 minutes in. We're heating up. I love it. Representation, honestly, Christina, when you said that whole like looking around the room to see if there's another one of us, that is so real. I can't tell you how many mixers and networking events I've been the mayor, this person, that person, and you look around, that's the first thing I do, right? Because I want to see who else is representing us in here, right? And then, when it comes to like representation in general, I think of a distinct memory of being a general manager in restaurants. Apparently, it's a rarity to see Black general managers, apparently, right? I didn't know this. And, I started as a door guy in the restaurant industry and just worked my butt off and worked my way up from door guy to server, did some bartending, right into management. And it took a manager to see that within me, right? It took a manager to see that, hey, you have some good management qualities. And I didn't want to hear it. I really didn't. I wanted to be a server, keep making lots of money and not deal with the headache. But someone saw the leadership in me that I didn't see yet, right? And I'll never forget that moment. So fast forward, I take the opportunity and I ran with it. And countless, management opportunities arise. I'm in different areas of the city where they are predominantly white. And yet, I get faced with the same interaction from certain people. It's like, wow, you're the general manager? Like, yes, I am, and the way I would exude myself to my team, right? When I had manager meetings, the expectations that set, I'm going to be on you to be on time. I'm going to be on you about your numbers, and I would train each and every manager, whether you're just a regular floor manager to the actual AGM, about everything that I do. So that way, one day when they are in my position, right. And that's the way I would teach them when you are in my position. So now I'm already implanting this seed in your mind that you're going to be at this level because you can, right. And this goes back to what we said about getting your foot in the door, right. And that's a big thing for me. I know my confidence, I used to be called cocky a lot when I was younger, right? And I would always tell people, like, I'm not cocky, I'm just confident, right? And I exude that same confidence now as a 40-year-old Black man, but that confidence is different, right? Like, and I know if I can get my foot in there, that I can just show you my true authentic self, and that right there is going to take off, right? Because I know how good of a person I am. I know how funny and silly I am. I know how much people like to be around me, for the most part. So with that being said, right, and I know my work ethic. My work ethic is unmatched, right? And I challenge you to try to work as hard as me, so that way I can work even harder, right? And now it becomes a competition thing. Little do you know, we're both going to be working really hard, and we both win at the same time, right? So, representation is huge, but there are these little nuances that like has been mentioned, that are going to try to take you off your game if you stay confident within that and just do what you do really well, right? And this is what I tell my players all the time, right? If you know you're not a three-point shooter, don't go out there shooting threes. You're not Steph Curry, right? If you're a really good defender, a really good passer, even if you're a really good cheerleader, be that, right? Because that's what we need in this moment to get us through this game and hopefully get a W, right? So those little and the same thing can translate to life, right? It's like, what do I do really well, right? Again, I know I have a sense of humor. I know I have hustle. I have a passion for basketball. I have a great IQ for basketball. All right, how about I get back into coaching, and then you take that and you just run with it, and again, it's funny because when I get around certain other coaches and I look at their style, and I still feel the same way, like whether they're a better coach than I am or not as good as I am, doesn't really matter. I just know that they're not me. And that's really what keeps me going, honestly, and just keeps me driven, because I tell myself, I manifest a lot, right? And I use a lot of affirmations. I look dead in the mirror and I tell myself, you're great. You're destined for greatness, and you have to continue to feed yourself these words. I tell my children that, because these are things I didn't necessarily hear from my parents growing up all the time. And, Lord knows where I would have been had I heard those things. But however, look where I am, right? So I'm super proud of that. I'm blessed to be where I am. And then now it's like, being 40 years old, even though I'm not that old, I'm much older than a lot of the kids that I work with. So I just try to implement, and just kind of instill these little gems in their minds. So hopefully one day they could remember me and take these lessons.
I love that. I love that because, you know, being an athlete, we all try to be the best, right? And I had a lot of coaches that's like, we can't be everywhere on the floor, whether that was basketball or volleyball. It's like, you play your position well and let the other people do their thing, which is going to lead me to this next conversation. I know it's very controversial, but you know what? If we're talking about Black excellence, we got to talk about the things that come up against Black excellence in our own community, right? Because unfortunately, there are still people who operate by that crabs at the bottom of the barrel. Like, I got to climb on top of you and I got to pull you down because you're in my way to get to the top. And it's like, first of all, a win for you is a win for all of us, right? Like, I had another podcast, and all three of us are Black women. All three of us are in the mental health field, but by no means did I feel the need to step on their toes just because we're Black and we're in the same field. Everyone has a lane, everyone has a space, everyone has a position, and we all can be great when we operate in the right space, doing the right thing, and not trying to, like, you know, knock over into anyone else's lane. So can we speak to that? Like, can we talk to our people and encourage them to be like, we can all exist and be great, and we do not have to pull anybody down because we all matter and we all need this. So that wasn't really a question, just a statement. Feel free to capitalize on it, guys.
Yeah, I could say something about that. You know, when it comes to, you know, I just stick to the whole coaching and the training, right? So I started my own training business. I'm super blessed for all the kids that I've been able to work with and continue work with. For the past 2 years, I've trained privately and semi-privately hundreds of kids. And it's been great, right? I know that I'm sitting on something really good. However, a lot of these kids are white, you know, and it's not their fault. That's just the network that I have. But yet here I am, Haitian American Black man. You know, my son has been playing basketball since he was 3. He has countless friends that are playing basketball that are his age or younger. I live in Brockton, a community that has a lot of African Americans, right? I market myself everywhere. And one of the things is, I feel like the resistance, you know, is, you know, they maybe they look at the price first and they automatically start to degrade your services, right? They don't give you a chance first, because whether you pay my training costs or somebody else is going to be, you're going to pay, right? Now, whether it's the same type of training, that's a different story. So, you know, I would say for us, you know, we need to stop resisting one another. What you said earlier, Jamae, in the sense of, like, it's not a competition. You know, we need to have a more welcoming space to be able to trust one another. And at the very least, you give someone one chance, right? You give somebody one chance, you give them a shot, and you see how it goes. And you should still owe them some feedback, good or bad, right? Whether you choose to proceed with them and move and continue to do business or not, or collab with them or not, whatever it is, that person deserves some feedback, and hopefully they could take it, you know, constructive criticism, and then use that and move forward. So, you know, in my field, real estate, you know, the resistance, I mean, the list can go on, right? I mean, I feel like for us, our financial status is a big red flag for us, right? Whether it's, you know, the credit situation, or maybe your finances are on point, you just don't want to let anybody into it, right? But however, when you were talking about purchasing something major like a house, someone needs to tap into your financials. So if it's not me, it's going to be a mortgage person, you know, whether they're whatever color, it doesn't matter, you know. So yeah, I think that we as people, Black people, need to be more open-minded, not so resistant. We need to be more together, right? Because you look at other cultures, right? Asians, Italians, Greeks, they stick together very, very, like, close knit, right? You turn on the news tonight, and I promise you'll probably see something about Black on Black crime, right? So, you know, we just need to get out of this rut. I'm not really sure how, right? Obviously, these conversations go a long way, but who's listening, right? Who's listening, who's receiving it accordingly. And that's really where we as people need to do a better job, because like everybody just needs to chill out, right? You gotta take your guard down for a second and just be open. Just be open. And at the very least, you listen to somebody, you hear them out. If they're not talking what you want to hear, keep it moving. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Boom. Right. But we got to give people more chances. I feel like that's where we need to do better.
Yeah. So good. So true. And I think Christina had mentioned it before. And this is something that in the mental health field, we try to overemphasize as a people. Like Christina said, we have been conditioned to survive. That's all. We don't know. We don't have emotional intelligence. We don't have skill sets. We don't have all of those things because they were never given to us, right? We had to go searching for it. And now once we have it, we have to pass it down to generations beneath us, with us, above us, whatever it is. And the thing about survival mode, it is straight instinctual. There is no thought. There is no logic. There is no concern about anybody else. It's, I have to make it to the next 24 hours. And then I got to copy and repeat that every single time. And so I think because we are conditioned to be in survival mode, it removes that ability to say, like, actually, I want to live. And living requires intentionality. And if I got to walk beside Daniel or Tanya or Christina and do that, then let's do that, because like we all matter. And something about that, I was watching the Kendrick Super Bowl breakdown, and there were so many stories behind it. But one thing they definitely said was he was intentional about the black and the red. I mean, the blue and the red, because what he's trying to say is we got to come together as a people, y'all. This black on black crime, like Daniel was just talking about, dead it. Because if the white man is against us and the black people were against each other, this is why we're not living. This is why we're not surviving. This is why no matter how much we fight, no matter how much we protest, we are still at the bottom of the totem pole. Because it's like, well, we don't even respect each other. So why should they respect us, right? It's that it goes with that state of mind of, I teach people how to love me by how I love myself. I teach people how to treat black men by how I talk to Daniel. If I'm dogging Daniel because he a black man and he a dog, what am I doing? Like I am further promoting every stigma and every stereotype that are put on black people. And then unfortunately we end up carrying it. And that's a problem. So just want to throw that in there. Anyone can go.
I think if I could tie sort of the last question and this one together, going back to the thought around representation, I want to add that from my perspective, going into spaces is more about access than it is approval. We're not looking for, affirmation is always great from your leadership, your corporate, like that's always great. Every human being on a human level needs affirmation. But this idea that I need to be approved by someone that's different from me in order for me to be valid, we have to kind of free ourselves of that and know that we're valid when we walk in the door. For me, I've learned that it's more about access and adapting to different environments. Again, not necessarily for approval, but for access so that I can bring back, there's a common thread for everybody on the screen right now, is that we have business experience, whether it's, corporate management, whatever it is, that we have then taken and translated back to our community, right? To our people. That's what representation does, right? And so I think that the more we do that, the more that we go in, access, learn, understand, be excellent, be great, hone our skills, more of us can do what we're doing, which is translating those into spaces that build up our community. If we continue to do that, I think we chip away at essentially what we're talking about is this scarcity mindset, right? That there's only a little bit on the table. And if I give you some, then what's going to be left for me and mine, right? But the more we go out and we access different spaces and we learn and we glean and we find our allies in those other spaces, right? There may not be a lot of them, but we can take that information, hone our skills, bring it back to our communities, right? And oftentimes we find how excellent we really are when we go into these different spaces. So I think the more that we open doors, the more that we bring back, the more that we show up and be excellent, we can grab sort of these younger generations that are coming up and teach them a different mindset. Unfortunately, there may be groups of people that, excuse me, y'all, have an allergenic cough. So, but there may be some that their mind may never change. Their mind may never open, right, to Black entrepreneurship and not trusting one another and, oh, the price is too much. And to your point, Daniel, I love what you said. Once you run into that wall, it's not my job to convince you, right? It's my job to cultivate a seed, hopefully, that's already inside of you that has a curiosity and a bravery. And all you need is the exposure, right? All you need is the exposure to someone who thinks differently, and you're ready to go. So I think that if we continue to model that, we can chip away at that scarcity mindset that says there is so much out there. And then the last thing I'll say is, as believers, we very much believe in sowing and reaping. And some of the most successful and fulfilling moments I've had in my life, yes, got the education, yes, worked hard, yes, did the work, but a lot of it was a result of what I sowed into someone else, mentoring somebody, seeing, somebody trying to start a business. Let me go their way. I don't need one, but I'm gonna get one because I want them to know that they're worth that value exchange, right? And so I think that the more we can educate and cultivate a mindset of you're sowing seed by opening doors, by sharing space with your brother or sister beside you, that you can't stop overflow from coming your way when you live a life like that. You can't stop the blessing of God from coming into your life when you live a life like that. Well, why did you? And they did this. And how come? And you better. Yes, steward yourself well, steward your money well, steward your time. You can't save everybody. But the people that you feel called to, the communities that you feel called to, that are burdened in your soul, when you pray, when you're doing every day, what you do this for, the more you sow into them and open up doors of opportunity, that overflow, it's just a principle of the kingdom, right? You can't stop it. So if we think that way, that the more I give, the more I position myself to receive, it becomes a way of life.
Yeah, I love that because we are sowing seeds, you know what I mean? And our communities, that's good soil. It's necessary soil. Now, again, I have no green thumb, but one thing I do know about sowing is that you got to get the soil ready first, right? I think so much we try to pour into our communities, but like Daniel and Christina were saying, we're not always open to receiving the help, right? And so sometimes we bring our resources elsewhere, but it's not because we don't love our community, and it's not because we don't see the need. It's just, if you're going to keep rejecting it, there's only so many times I can keep trying to push seed into a soil that's like, I don't care what you're doing, I'm not going to receive it. So I think if you didn't get anything out of what Christina and Daniel, and I'm sure Tanya is about to say, is be receptive to receiving help, because we can't do this by ourselves. We all need a tribe. We all need community. And yes, we all need Jesus. So don't forget him and bring him into the fold. You know what I mean? Because as Christina was saying about starting a business, and I'll ask this question later, but it's like when you're starting a business, you can't do that by yourself. And you need a community, you need friends, you need trusted confidants to walk you through that process, because yeah, the vision's yours, and God didn't have a group call when he called you. So there's that. But when you are called to do something, do it. But God never said do anything in isolation. Never. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm the best Bible scholar, but very rarely is God calling you to one thing and to one person for a long time. You know what I mean? So it's like, understand community is necessary and be open to receiving the help. And I'm going to be quiet so Tanya can go.
Well, you're saying just as your information or what you're saying is just as important and just as deep as the rest of us on this panel. So every word that you speak, we're all soaking it into our own soil, and it will grow its own flowers and plants or whatever kind of thing you want to grow out of it. What I will say for our community, because it's about unity, right? Community is about unity. And without the unity, it's never going to happen. So that's one. But the biggest thing I feel, and this is something that I believe, is that not everybody's meant to be a business owner. Not everybody's meant to be a leader. Not everybody's meant to steward. There's some that are the sheep, and there are some that are the steward. And that's okay. A shepherd. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you do have to be able to know, and even in the fact of with you being a leader, you are then sometimes the one that needs to be led. You have to be able to be okay with that too. And I agree with the access. It is about access. It's 100% about the access. And not everybody's going to be able to have that access for several different reasons. But one of those main reasons is that they don't know how to. It's not code switching, because I don't code switch in any room I walk into. I don't care if you are the mayor, which literally I said this to her. You're the mayor. I love you down, girl. But I'm not changing. So if you see me today talking to you, if I talk to the congressman, I'm going to talk to him the same exact way. They're getting the same Tanya, because I refuse to be anything but myself. And so if you don't love me, I know you like me. You're just in denial. And since it's a river, go ahead and roll down it, because I know that you enjoy Tanya. So, it's important to say, forget like what kind of table. I don't even want a table. I don't even want to sit at your table. I brought the wood. I'm carving it. After I've carved it, I brought the table in. And guess what? I made some chairs. I made a couple plates. And there's some spoons and some forks. Do you want a knife? Because we can cut some things up. That's what I want to bring in. That's the mind frame that I feel like is missing when we're talking about our community. Know your lane. If you're a fork, be a fork. If you're the one who's the gatherer of information, go gather the information and bring it back to the person that can go out and talk to the person that needs to go and make that new law go into play. Go and do all of those things. And then on top of, while you're doing all these things, be okay with knowing that I'm not going to be the lead on this. Or what's the other thing? Like, if the price is the price, pay the price. If the price is the price, pay the price. Because if you went into X store, you would pay that price. And because because just like anything else in life, like in our DNA, right? We talk about the DNA. It's engraved in us from generations, 5, 6, 7 generations deep, about how we need to be and who we need to be and how you need to function and how you're going to move in order to not be killed, because that's engraved. That trauma, that never-ending trauma, that's what needs to be broken. And that's the cycle. Forget the curse. It's the cycle. So once you break the cycle, you figure out what it is. It could be the smallest thing. I don't have the same level of food, or it's those sneakers. He got the newest pair of Jordans. Jordan done recycled the same pair of Jordans for 30 years, and you still buying the shoes, and you still killing each other over the shoe that you got to be kidding me. I know you're lying to me right now. So it's like breaking the cycle of keeping each other in a place and in a space that you don't even need to be in anymore. Like, we don't need to think in the ways in which, and it's nothing against the older generations, because they were in that trauma. They didn't know any better, basically. But there's way too much information in this world that we have at the tips of our fingers, that we have on Chat GPT, that we can literally say, hey, what do you do for, and it will spit out the information for you. So if you don't want the information, you're not going to get the information. And so you're going to keep yourself where you're at. And why are you trying to keep everybody else there with you? So it's really about letting it go, like Daniel said. It's about the access, like Christina said. And it's about learning how to get the wood, build your own table. Why do you need to sit at their table? Do we actually need to? We built the table. We built the dang table. Do we really need to sit at their table anymore when we built the table in the first place? No. Let's go ahead and get some wood.
Build the table. I love that. And, to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, and also Daniel mentioned, I don't know what it is about Black folk and thinking they need to get a discount because we Black too. I'm going to need y'all to get rid of that whole mindset, because do you go into like a Mercedes place and be like, okay, so I know you Black, and so like I just need you to hand me a little discount when I go get this Mercedes? They're gonna look at you and be like, I don't care what color you are. The only color I care about is that green that you about to pay for this service. And I think I had to learn how to stop like expecting less, and I was undervaluing myself a whole lot. I had a SCORE mentor, which is an entrepreneurship mentor. And he was like, I'm sorry, how much are you charging your services for? I was like, oh, like $60. But that's because like I'm going into, populations that may not have enough money. And he was like, you mean the same population, like Tanya was saying, that's spending $250 on a pair of shoes? That same population that from head to toe, their outfit is like $1,000. You think they don't have money to invest in themselves? And I said, you know what, sir? You got that. I'm going to give you that because it's true. What will you invest in? What are you going to choose to put your money towards? Like Tanya said, some J's that have been recycled for 30 years that get stepped on, and then you want to fight because someone stepped on your J's? Or do you want to invest in your mental wealth? Do you want to invest in how to grow a business? Do you want to invest in how to perfect your skills and maybe make it to the NBA? And when you make it to the NBA, shout out Daniel and give him 10%. Just kidding. Maybe not. But anyway, like there's things that you can invest in, and it's not always materialistic, because materialistic things, like my pastor would say, when you die, there is no U-Haul going up to heaven with you. Everything you work hard for, everything you bust your tail for, it stays here, and someone else picks it up, and someone else is going to enjoy all the things that you done tired yourself out for. When instead we can work on, I don't remember who said, I think it was Christina, take the skills, bring it back to your community, teach the younger generation or our generation what to do with it. And then that's how we create generational wealth, which again brings me to my next conversation about how, as business leaders and entrepreneurs, how did we get here? Because I tell y'all, it took Jermaine some time. It took some convincing. It took 17 mentors, 37 prayers, and $15,000 to get where I'm at right now. And it is not easy. So how do we empower maybe people who are thinking about it and for whatever reason have stopped themselves, or younger generations that are like, I feel like I feel like I'm called, but I don't know where to begin. So how do we uplift our future entrepreneurs and leaders?
You can go first, Christina.
Thank you, Daniel. I will start by saying that when we look at our life through seasons, a lot of times people think that their purpose is what they're doing at that moment. And that is really just one expression of your purpose, right? One expression. When my mentor, some years ago, he asked me what my purpose was. And I thought, oh God, I got a personal mission statement. I know the answer to this question. I know it. And I went on, and he's like, you don't know your purpose. And I was like, oh. So he's like, what's the one common thread? What shows up when you walk in the room? Whether you're at work, whether you're in your spiritual space, ministry space, hanging out with your friends, what shows up when you walk in the room? And he set me on a challenge. And I found out that whether it was the type of sermon I preached, whether it was the projects I executed at work, whether it was the baby shower I helped my friend coordinate for my friends, like it was, I help people translate vision to execution. So I would say the first thing that we have to encourage people to do is be able to see yourself living out your purpose in a different way. It doesn't have to be the same way, the same thing. I love what Tanya said. Everyone is not going to be necessarily an entrepreneur, everyone, but that doesn't mean that you're less than on some scale, right? Like you have value. But if you are called to entrepreneurship, the first thing you got to do is see yourself differently. I remember the first time God led me to leave. I had left corporate temporarily. And Christina don't leave jobs without having another one lined up. Let's just be very clear. But I had come to a time in my life where a boldness sat on me and an unction of the Holy Spirit was like, it's time for you to walk away for a season. And I had to trust God. And I remember the first time I secured a contract and someone paid me for something I did, and it had nothing to do with a W-2. It had nothing to do with a direct deposit. Something unlocked inside of me. Christina, you've been looking at your job as your source when it's a resource. We've heard that before. And God took care of me during that period of full-time entrepreneurship. I ended up coming back to corporate because there were more lessons for me to learn. And so now I'm a workpreneur and I'm able to show up in a different way. And so you can't look at your journey as just black and white. You've got to look at it as seasons. You've got to look at it as, I'm not a failure if I move between the spaces. I'm not a failure if I get laid off and have to go into full-time entrepreneurship. This is an expression of my purpose, and I can do this. So to anybody who's watching and you feel something, you felt that unction and your fear has gotten in the way of your faith, I'm not necessarily telling you to quit your job tomorrow, because again, I'm a workpreneur right now. But what I am telling you is just see yourself differently. Try to package your value and your purpose in a way that you can add value to the people, to the clients that you are called to serve, and just give it a try. And I promise you that as you pursue that path, the circumstances, difficult as they may be, they will continue to prove to you who you are. And so that's what I would say to encourage is see yourself differently. Don't tie yourself to any one way to express your purpose, and just give it a try. And I promise you, the first time that you get a yes, the first contract you sign, the first client, the first flyer you put out, it ain't going to be cute. I look back at stuff I did 10 years ago. I'm like, oh, delete. Ugh, what was I doing? I was trying. I was living. I was being bold, right? And so we encourage you to do the same thing. That's what I would say.
I love that. And I took a mentorship course with Christina. And when she said expression of purpose, I said, now, what you mean, Chris? I said, I don't know. I said, helping people. And you do that through counseling. And she said, sure, but there's more. And I said, to this day, I'm like, I know therapy and Jesus, anything other than that, I don't know. And so, like, needless to say, by the end of her course that I took, I said, okay, mentorship, counseling, consulting, showing up and just letting people experience whatever presence I bring into the room. I said, well, all right, Christina, I guess, because she had us write it down and then she had us go back. And I said, look at that. I had more in there than I thought I did. So yes, expression of purpose and trust it.
And if I could, I just want to add this, Jermaine, you just triggered a thought. I remember when I went back to corporate and God started breathing on my career. And I was like, well, Lord, I'm kind of confused. And he just spoke to me and he said, embrace all of who you are. Embrace all of who you are. For some, that is full-time entrepreneurship. For some, that is living in both worlds. So embrace all of who you are. Take the limits off. No disrespect to anyone's 9 to 5. You are more than your 9 to 5. You are more than the every Friday paycheck or every other Friday paycheck. Step outside of yourself and know that while we value our careers and we enjoy our careers and we're fulfilled in them, like embrace all of who you are. And I think that ties even back to the conversation around Black excellence.
Yeah. So good. Daniel.
Yes, that was awesome. That was awesome. You know, and when you said the thing about the flyer, that hit. Because I remember when I made my first flyer, I actually just looked at it the other day and I'm like, wow, right? And now my lady and I, you know, we're partners in this whole thing. And when I make a flyer on Canva, I get so hyped, right? And I'm like OCD. I'm like, listen, we got to zoom in. We got to make sure the font's on point. Everything got to be lined up. I drive her crazy. But guess where I learned that? I learned that in my 9-to-5 when I used to be a restaurant manager, right? Having to print out other people's menus, right? And then, you know, making sure that everything is on point, pricing, font, alignment, etc., because we're sending it out to a printing company and it costs money. So if we mess up this menu, which we're going to get reprinted in a few days anyway, because the beer is always changing, right? So like fast forward, a lot of the things that I've learned as the man and the boss that I am today, I learned from having a 9-to-5. However, being in that position, I did know that I was better than where I was, right? I was working 12, 13, 14 plus hour days in a physical building, excuse me, for someone else in someone else's business. They're at home. I had some bosses that were at home watching the cameras on their big screen, you know, calling in the restaurant, you know, questioning certain things. Couldn't stand that. And then it was just, you know, you got some bosses that empower you, that want to see you grow. But all in all, every day that I'm doing this, I realize I'm better than this. I'm telling them, I'm driving home, whether it's a 15-minute drive, 45-minute drive, I'm still not happy with where I'm at. And that paycheck, yes, it was nice, but it wasn't nice enough when after working a 14-hour day, I'm still getting phone calls at home while I'm sitting with my family. You know, still my brain is operating for someone else's brain that we hired to do said job, right? Fast forward, what really made me kind of just say, you know, it's time, I got forced, right? God has his way of making us learn and understand things and pushing us in directions that we may not be ready to go at that time. Like you asked for this, but you may not have been ready. God said, well, it's time, right? And that's what happened. You know, it was a Friday. I dropped off both of my girls, one at daycare, one at school, driving to work. my last job 2 years ago, my director of operations, who, by the way, lived in Atlanta, but would pop in here and there. So she's not usually in town. So she calls me just to let me know that just to check in if I'm on my way. I always show up when I'm supposed to. I'm always on time. So I'm like, it was weird to get that call. Meet me in the office when you get there, blah, 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 get there. And it's her and the director of human resources. So I already knew what time it was because being the GM, I've been a part of these terminations. So it was depressing. It was hard. It was very, very difficult. I remember, you know, riding back home in my car, no music, just numb to everything. And it took me about, I don't know, if you know where Seaport is, from Seaport to the gas tank on 93, and I live in Brockton. So from Seaport to the gas tank, absolute silence, never called my lady, never texted her to even let her know what happened because I was just trying to process, like, what's next? What just happened? And then we had a conversation. So from the gas tank all the way to home, you know, she was my ear, she was my shoulder. But then it was go time, right? Like what's next? What's next? And at that point, I was halfway through my real estate studies. So I took that on. That was a challenge, right? Being the fact that I haven't studied in so long. I've been out of college for quite a while. So now I have to reprogram my mind to this student mode. Took me a few tries to pass my real estate exam, you know, 4 to be exact, but there were very, very tough moments, right? But I would tell myself that you didn't come this far just to come this far, right? There's a huge amount of motivation, self-motivation that's required, right? This isn't for the weak at all. And you're gonna be down. You're gonna be depressed. You're gonna doubt yourself sometimes, rightfully so, because things may not be working the way you want them to work. But yet you still there's something in you that has to have that, like, you got this. Something in you, even through all the doubt, you still have to sit there and be like, I got this. Your own family won't believe in you. They might, hey, it sounds good. They don't believe in you, right? Then you got some that do, some that support you, some that want to see you succeed, that don't even really understand. But because they see your passion for what it is that you're into, they rock with you, you know? So, you know, life will sometimes force you to do certain things. You have to try to find the silver lining. And the silver lining was, I was legitimately talking about finding a new job in the beginning of that year, right? The beginning of the next year. This happened in November of 2023. So I was already talking about January 2024 being somewhere else. Well, that November 18th, 2023, right? A week before Thanksgiving, God had a different plan for me. And then even still, I wasn't a true 100% entrepreneur yet, because at that point you get unemployment. You still have some sort of income coming in, supplementing some of the money you were making, etc. So I still depended on that. I started to, you know, dabble in some sort of, you know, entrepreneurship, but I wasn't fully committed to the game yet. Once that ended, then you don't know where that next penny's coming from. That's when things got really, really, really dicey, got really, really hard. My back was against the wall. I operate extremely well under pressure. I've learned that about myself. That can be good and bad sometimes. But I dug in, I dug deep. And that's when we talk about these flyers, right? That's when you talk about tapping into what it is that you do well in your network, et cetera. And then how can you make all that work? And the moment you get that first commitment, that first contract, the first payment, oh my God, nothing can take that pleasure away. That's such a fulfilling moment, right? And then now you ride that wave because you realize it works. You realize what it is that you're doing works. You realize you have the network, you have the gift, right? You already had the gift, but now it's like exposed, and you ride that wave, you know? And then at that point, you know, you're just up from there. Do we still face challenges? Of course. But again, you need to be so mentally strong throughout these moments to help yourself get through it, you know, because, you know, the money's going to come and go. Like you mentioned, Jermaine, the U-Haul doesn't come with you when you pass. Unfortunately, you know, hopefully you have things left over for your family, you know, resources left over for your kids and your loved ones, but all that is gone, you know. So now it's really about your legacy. How are people going to remember Jermaine, Tanya, Christina, Daniel, you know, when we're no longer here? What is that? What does that look like for you, right? And that's how I had to really talk to myself, like, what's my legacy? You know, I wanted to be a public speaker. I still do, kind of. So I work on little things, and I work on tonality, and I use my basketball as my practice stage. You know, when I'm delivering message to these young athletes, I lecture a lot. And some of them you could see eye contact, they're nodding, they're understanding. Some of them, the words are going in and out one ear, and that's okay. And I say it out loud. I'm like, for those that deserve to receive this message, will. For those that don't, it's just not your time yet, you know. And they're like, oh, all right, coach, right? So I take it, I run with it. But my message, again, in summary, to anyone that's listening, that, you know, has that 9 to 5, they can't stand their boss, they're miserable every day, they wake up to go to work, per se. You have to figure out your way out. You have to take that leap. And like Christina said, you know, even if you still have to stay in your job while you're trying to build your dream, now you have 2 jobs, right? Now you have 2 full-time jobs, and you have to push through that fatigue, right? That fatigue at the end of the day, the end of that long shift, you know, you want to go and do whatever else. That's fine. Do that, but still allocate whatever that time is, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, to building that dream. And then day by day, little by little, one step in front of the other, next thing you know, you climbed a mountain. So that's my message. And I hope that, you know, I can inspire at least one person to follow their dreams. Listen,
you inspired me, because our stories kind of aligned. Like I used to talk to Daniel all the time when I would go by the restaurant, probably because he made me the Jermaine special, which wasn't even on the menu. So still appreciate that, because sometimes it'll pop up in my memories. I'm like, yo, that was good. Daniel can cook. Anyway, So, I remember we used to have conversations about what he wanted to do next. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. So go do it. I didn't realize what I was saying when I said it, because now that I'm there, like, I was forced as well. I got fired for the first time in my life. And I said, oh, okay. So that prayer that I prayed on the balcony on my birthday in Hawaii, he sped that up. And I said, you could have gave me a little warning about what was going to happen. And when I say I have struggled since then, and hearing, Daniel, how you have overcome that, I'm like, that means I'm close, y'all. I'm real close, because not knowing where the next paycheck is coming from, and I'm over here with a whole mortgage and some. I said, Lord, you're gonna have to do it. And he has. I still have the house. I still have the things. God is good, y'all. So yeah, trust the process and stick with it, because I was ready to throw in every single flag. I don't even care what color it was, white, red, pink, blue. I was throwing it, because I said, Lord, this isn't it. But the promise doesn't come without pain. And like Tanya says, we got to turn that bad boy into purpose. And I'm almost there, y'all. Pray for me. Pray for us. Pray for any entrepreneur, but pray for me anyway. Tanya, go ahead.
Okay, well, mine's is a little bit, I got to be neurospicy because it's in me. And so I'm going to say this. You want to go into entrepreneurship, you better be delusional every day. Delusion is your best friend, okay? It is my best friend. But on top of my delusion is my belief that God is. Period. I don't have anything else with it. God is. Wow. And I remember in 2022, because my Creative Hues is my baby. So it really started during COVID, when I was experiencing my PTSD from coming out of the DV relationship, and just trying to navigate what does that mean. And though I had therapy, because I believe in therapy, it's the best thing that has ever been created, and everybody should see a therapist, because you should. We all have trauma, no matter how big or small, it's still there, and your teenage self needs to be dealt with. Your smaller, younger self needs to be dealt with, and your young adulthood, if you're like me and over 40, needs to be dealt with as well. The 20s and the 30s. Anyways, I digress. When I started it and trying to maneuver through my PTSD, I began to write. So I'm a writer, but I can write down anything. And that's why I can tell Jermaine all about a grant, because I will write. I can write. Give me something to write. I'm gonna tell you right now, and it's going. And that is from my analytical standpoint. So I've been in healthcare from the ground up. I worked in every kind of department except for environmental, but I was doing registration and all of that, and building up to get to being an analyst now. So I've been working in the IT department for the last 9 years. And in conjunction with that of me writing, that's where Creative Hues came from, because everything I do now in my workshops are from my own life experiences of what I went through in order to get to a side where I felt that I was actively healing, because there's no such thing as being healed. There's always active healing, because you're always evolving. And so in 2022, my mom had been diagnosed with cancer. Well, 2020, but by 2022, she was in remission, going through all of the things, the chemotherapy, and I had to write again. I was writing again and writing, and just, expressing myself and figuring out, breaking plates and writing down affirmations, and going and burying, digging up the grass and things, and, intentional with what it was that I was doing. And I I was like, God, you're either going to give me a house or you're going to give me a business, because I need to do something. I need to I can't be the only one that feels like this. I wish there was a me doing the things that all of these things that I'm doing. I wish that there was a me out there. And I said, you know what? I don't need to wish if there was a me. I'm going to be the me. I'm going to be me. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it. And so I was looking for, I made my business plan and I started looking at places, but God said, you're not ready yet. I'm going to give you a house, because you go ahead and get this house, and that's what you're ready for. And that's what you're going to do. And so November, just like Daniel, November of 27th of 2023, I was talking to one of my mentors, and she was like, oh, I was telling her, I want to do something, but I don't know what I want to do. I forgot I wrote this business plan and everything. And I was like, I want to do something. I don't know what the do is, but I just want to do. She was like, oh, why don't you try to see if you can be a volunteer within your city hall? And I was like, oh, I never thought about that before. She's like, yeah, the doors will open for you. And I was like, oh, I wonder why would they open? But I just didn't pay any attention to it. It was at 11:09. We got off the phone. I went onto the city's website. And I always am on the website because I love free things. So I'll go and do all the free things that the city has to offer with my kids. And so I looked in a banner for the first time, never had seen a banner like this before. It said, alert, volunteer board member positions open. It posted at 11:09. So as she said it to me, it was not her. It was God saying, this is what I want you to go do. And I'm going to give it to her to give to you, because sometimes you don't hear me when I'm just telling you stuff. When I just drop it on you, you don't hear me. So let me drop it on somebody else that I know that I know has me in them. And I'm going to go ahead and give you this message. And I was like, oh, okay, God, I see you. I see you. And I applied. So I wrote it all up. And then I printed and I had it. I was ready to hit send. And I was like, maybe I should just go walk it in to the mayor's office. Walk it in. I didn't know it was the mayor's office I was going to go drop it off at. It's like, I'll just go walk it in. I got there at 4:25. They close at 4:30. And I have a stack. I have my resume, the application, and everything. And I'm like, hi. She's like, hello. I'm like, I'm just going to drop this off with you. And she's like, what is it? I was like, oh, you guys posted some for, appointments. And she's like, appointments? I'm like, to be on the boards. And she's like, oh. I'm like, you guys posted it this morning at 11:09. And she's like, it's 4:25. I was like, I know. I don't know. I'm a little overzealous. She got my package. She was like, oh, because I put a cover letter and everything. I gave it to her. I left, called my mom and my sisters and everything. They're like, you're so impulsive. I'm like, I'm not impulsive. I just did whatever God told me to do for the first, I've been doing what God's telling me to do. And I just did. So whatever, if I get it, I get it. If I don't get it, I don't get it. The next day, I get a phone call thinking that I did something wrong on the application because it was from the city. And it's the mayor on the other end. Hi, I just wanted to let you know that this is so impressive. I don't think I've seen anybody walk anything in. People don't even do that anymore. But you that's how determined you were. I was like, I don't know. Yes, it is my determination. And so I was appointed at that time to 2 boards. And she's like, people don't know that you could do that, but you can be on 2 boards. She put me on 2 boards. Within me being sworn in by that January, by the February on one of the boards, they made me the treasurer. I've never been a treasurer before ever, but they've seen something in me. And that moment in February, I then went to a Black women's conference. And I just happened to tell somebody my vision, my idea. She was like, that's beautiful. You should come and meet my director. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, all right. I like to talk to people. Mind you, the whole time I was tabling and the woman sitting next to me the whole time was her director. I mean, we was kikiing about why did we wear heels and who wears heels at the Boston Convention Center? What was we thinking? Kiki, ha, 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 ha. She's like, I love the idea. I told her my idea. She was like, I love that. Do you want to come? I would love for you to do a contract with us. I mean, I blinked. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, here's my information. I want you to come and do something with us. And I was like, I dropped and I went into whole prayer. It wasn't even me that prayed, because when I opened my eyes, I was like, oh. She was like, it's all right. That was beautiful. I was like, Holy Spirit, I don't know. But that was my moment, because I, for the first time, walked by faith and not by sight. That was the first time I did it. And everything in my business, I have walked by faith. I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing. I never wrote a contract before. I never did a grant before. I never put anything together. You want me to make do a flyer? I mean, I know I like stuff. So I work in IT. So I'm just pull all my IT knowledge forward and just do that. And I did all of that. And it's like you said, when you got that first contract, when I got the first contract and they signed it, it was a year later, but I was like, oh my God. And then right after, I got my own location, and I didn't ask for the location. God gave me the location. And so it's like, what I will say to whoever the person is to hear it: 1, walk by faith and not by sight. 2, be hell of delusional. You just be delusional and believe that you are already whatever kind of boss that you was trying to be. If it's the boss of your own company, whether it's the boss of, whatever kind of boss you wanted to be, whatever type of leader you're trying to be, whatever kind of owner you're trying to be, or visionary, founder, whatever it is. Like somebody in the thing was saying, how do you start an LLC or nonprofit? Just type it in. All types of information will come up, and believe in your purpose. Like, believe in what it is that God has for you. And I loved that, Christina, of embrace all that you are. Thank you for saying that, because I have been struggling with, I work in both of the worlds, right? I have my day job, and I'm like, oh, I'm ready to just leap. I'm ready to leap. But I'm great at what I do, and I actually love my job. There's nothing wrong with it. But I love being able to help people. I love being able to see their face and know that what I've said, or just later, it's gonna tingle later. Like, ooh, okay, I hear you. But believe in what it is that you want to do, and be delusional. Be delusional.
Be delusional and trust Jesus, because sometimes those can go hand in hand. Anyway, to respect everyone's time, first of all, you guys have been absolutely amazing. I am so grateful for this conversation. When I say I'm going back to rewatch this so I can take some more notes, I am going to do just that, because the gems that were given today, even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you're just a Black person in America trying to make it, you learned something today. And so, I just want to ask one final question, and it's not really a question. I think it's just more about encouraging, our people, brown and Black folks, on how we can just continue on in this life, given the governmental culture that we are in, and how all over the place it can be. But like we said, we trust Jesus. And so no matter who's in the office, no matter who's sitting in the White House isn't the ultimate throne. There's one up there, and we're going to trust him with it. And what he says goes. So find whatever solace and peace you need with that. But final words of encouragement for anyone watching. Again, it doesn't have to be entrepreneurs. It can just be any brown face that's out there. Final words of encouragement.
Mine is short and sweet. So I will say this to whoever is listening. It's something that I say every single time, no matter who it is that I'm talking to. But I want you to know, from me to you, you are enough. Even in the moments where you don't feel like you're enough, you have always been enough. So don't let anybody, no matter where they are, who they are, what positions they hold, or who they think that you should be, remember that you are always enough for you.
I would just say, first of all, this was amazing. So thank you, Jermaine. Thank you to these amazing panelists. I'm so honored and privileged to just have shared space. I've been inspired and helped and blessed. So thank you. I want to speak to the person that is in the middle of something that they feel like is going to overcome them. It won't. It won't. Trust God. Let him take care of you. There was a period where I didn't know where the next check was coming from. Things got real lean. And the Holy Spirit just whispered in my ear, let me take care of you. So whatever it is, whether it's illness, sickness, financial struggles, the current climate in our country, it will not overtake and overcome you. But lean into your faith and know that who you are going to be on the other side of this challenge is exceeding abundantly, right? He'll do it exceeding abundantly more than you can ask or think. So keep going. Don't stop here. Rest. Feel your feelings. Cry when you need to cry. Pray when you need to pray. Get help when you need to get help. But don't stop here.
Final thoughts. First and foremost, thank you so much to you lovely ladies. It's been amazing. It's been a blessing to be a part of this. I feel like every time you all speak, it's just like gem after gem after gem. I cannot wait to look at this recording again. Just to, like Jamae said, take some notes. Also, I hope that we could stay in touch and just continue to build together. That's super important. Excuse me, my message, two things. Right, we've said this before, we'll say it again. Walk by faith, not by sight. You're gonna face a lot of moments where you want to quit, where you're being doubted by family, friends, your closest people are gonna look at you like you're crazy. Like Tanya said, be delusional, be that crazy person. Steve Jobs was crazy. Most people have iPhones and Apple products, right? The list goes on, right? There's all these major people, right? If age is stopping you from starting, okay, don't let that be a factor. Colonel Sanders started KFC when he was like 60 something, right? So everybody just needs to process their own situation differently, but you got to stick with it. You got to stick with it. Don't give up. There's going to be turbulence. There's going to be ebbs and flows. My advice to you is surround yourself with the people that are where you want to be, but also surround yourself with the people that are going to support you, right? Because there's already going to be doubts circling in your own mind. You don't need outside doubters and haters, right? They're going to exist, but there's a way to cancel that noise out. Stay locked in, stay focused with the people that matter. And just, trust God, honestly, being able to have faith in God, even in moments when I question certain things, I'm still standing strong as a man. Oh, and lastly, this was touched on earlier, therapy, mental health. Everybody suffers some sort of mental health, especially as a Black man. We tend to kind of just put it behind us. But there has to come a point where you realize that you're not your best self. And at that point, you have to seek guidance from whoever you feel most comfortable seeking that guidance, but professional help. It helped me honestly be able to express my feelings more as a man. I remember the first time I went to therapy, the first session was just, the eval. The second session, which is the first true session, is when you have to do the majority of the talking. I'll never forget. I wasn't ready. And it was supposed to be a 45-minute session. I think 10 minutes in, I was like, how long does this go for? She's like, well, it's 45 minutes, da-da-da. And I was like, all right, well, I'm out. You just got up and left, right? Because I wasn't ready. I was not ready. And then I was listening to a podcast, and this is it. This is it for me. The truth in healing is transparency. So that hit deep. I was driving, I heard it, and I was like, how do you expect to heal if you're not being transparent about what you're dealing with? That next session, I couldn't stop talking, right? 45 minutes flew like this. I was ready for the next one. And then that also just helped me become a better man overall, whether it's at work, in my relationship, as a father, overall, right? Just making sure I could express my emotions and feelings in a better way instead of suppressing them. And then that led to a bunch of nonsense that I shouldn't have been doing or saying, right? So take care of your mental health, walk by faith, not by sight, surround yourself with the right people that are going to support you.
Mm-hmm. Well said, everyone. And I think to kind of encapsulate all that was said, what you think is a barrier and what you think you cannot overcome, you can, right? Some things we cannot do within our own strength. Again, that's why community matters, therapy matters. I'm not just saying that because I'm a therapist. They have said it. So, yeah. And because like Daniel said, age, finances, upbringings, family, support, all those things are true. Absolutely. We're not saying negate those things, but we are saying don't let that be where you stop, right? Just because it's a speed bump, you can get over it. If it's a hurdle, get your track shoes on and hop over it. If it's a mountain, strap on them boots and get to climbing, okay? Because I think everyone has said from experience, it's not like everything was pitch perfect and clear and amazing and without bumps and potholes, and everything comes with a cost, right? But when you realize that you are investing in yourself, it's worth the cost. So take that investment. Again, thank you guys for coming. And if you have any questions for the panelists, feel free to hit me up and I will filter to them. This is just part one. Next week at 6 p.m. I have 3 more panelists coming on. Kimberly and Carrie and Christopher will be here. They're just as amazing as this. I don't think I'm ready for next week. I wasn't ready for this week. But I am so thankful for all of these lovely melanated professionals that are here. There's going to be an outro video. Please stay tuned. And if you think anyone can benefit from this, please do share it. And I'll see y'all next week. Thank you guys. Daniel, Christina, Tanya, love you much. Thank you so much. I guess.
Thank you.
Of course. Hello, everyone. Jermaine here from A Fighting Chance Counseling Services. Thank you so much for watching the Inimitable Podcast. I hope you're enjoying all the episodes, or if this is your first time here, welcome, and I hope you enjoyed it. So this is an announcement for what's coming up from A Fighting Chance Counseling Services. For one, we have this mentoring program called Permission to Soar. I am so excited about this one. This is for people ages 15 to 26. This is really about building a blueprint for success. So we have a vision, goals, strategies, or steps, and then we need some skills to get there. So how do we get from here to start living out our dream? And that's what the focus of Permission to Soar mentoring is. It is individualistic, and then there's also groups just for accountability purposes. And then I have Emerging Healers Academy. This is for people in the mental health field, whether you are straight out of college, maybe on your way out of college, or you've been in the field for a while. You just need some mentorship, a safe space to communicate, share things. And yes, I am still counseling individuals, couples, and families. I would rather be doing group things, but I can also do individual if you're in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. And then if I get licensed in other states, you will know as well. So again, thank you for watching. Check out my website. Go to the Facebook page, Instagram page, all the things, right? And yes, subscribe to YouTube. All right, guys, thank you for joining in, and watch for the flyers. All right, bye.